One of the things that is special about this church is its inclusivity. Some may say a little bit ahead of its time. And one of the big pieces of that was having drag shows here in our commons area. So thinking about that, what did it mean for you to have a place to perform?
For me, I actually started out here in drag. I won Miss Rochester, and that was kind of my kickoff. And just to kind of be in the community and having a safe place was kind of felt good because I grew up around here, actually in Stewartville. And my childhood wasn't the greatest. I was teased all my life. So coming here and meeting a family, basically, and then having the space just to be part of something and to be safe with something was very wonderful.
I think a big thing is, as a society, we had really become conditioned to only accept things what that were considered the norm. Like you dated in high school, you went to prom, you got married, you got 2.5 kids and a picket fence and a house in the suburbs. And in many cases, I think that people were really hard pressed to try and look beyond that point. And to have a place that said, you don't have to be us, you could be you, and that could be okay, I think was really transformative, not just for us, but for a lot of people in the community, to say this is a place that we can be safe to express something that isn't just a cookie cutter part of reality.
Exactly.
You know, homophobia exists today, but it is stronger the further back you go. And so, you know, the first Unitarian Universalist Church provided space for gay and lesbian conservatives to have dances in 1981. And, you know, the next church to really do anything was in 2007. So the Unitarian Church was way ahead of everyone else in providing a safe space for our community.
I just remember that first dance of walking in and being comfortable and was welcome to hold my partner's hand, to dance with my partner, to just truly, honestly, publicly feel love. And it started here.
This site is the first time I went to any LGBTQ event, and I was absolutely terrified to come.
Okay.
Me too.
But quickly it became the highlight of the year was to go to those dances here.
Yes.
I mean, there was no other place in town that events took place, so this really became, those dances 4 times a year became the community center. It was the time people got together, and this is, you know, Pride didn't start till 1998. So, this space is so precious, so sacred to so many people for over 2 decades.
Yeah. And not just the dance, the first time, and you probably all remember, getting ready in drag and going to the church in drag.
Pretty much.
And I remember the first outfit I ever wore here, still today.
I think I
Yeah, and just getting ready, it was transformative, walking into the church, feeling so comfortable, so supported, in full drag, and still being able to be myself, you know, that was huge.
Knowing that, you know, the public political environment is a little tense right now, and unfortunately, issues such as drag, transphobia, all of that is happening right now.
I think too, one of the things that keeps me doing what I'm doing and picking the songs we pick and sending the message that we send is knowing that there's still people out there who maybe feel the way that I felt when I started. Can I be okay being me? Is it all right to express myself? Can I choose who I love? Can I have a partner? Could I have kids? Could I be a part of a community of faith? And being there and kind of shining a light on this, it still can happen. We can still meet people who maybe they were closeted for years and years. Maybe they live in a small town now and they're a young person and they're like, I don't know anybody else in my community who feels the way that I feel. But seeing someone on a stage, in a spotlight, living their truth, sometimes can really be a big kind of motivating factor, kind of an assurance that I can be okay.
When you think of the performances that you do and the art that you do, how do you think of that in relation the greater world.
I think the current political time is really about the patriarchy trying to reassert control over everything.
Yeah.
And drag, as an art, is an absolute opposite of the patriarchy. Patriarchy says, we have to separate who the men are and who the women are because we're only going to keep the men in power if we know who is who. And drag just sort of blurs the whole idea of gender and says it's a social construct. Let's have fun.
I think maybe something that needs to be emphasized is that there were events that were happening, like Stonewall, where people said, hey, we've had enough, and they decided to fight back against sort of like oppression against them and how they express themselves. And I think that even now, when we're having oppression again in our country, sometimes we feel really overwhelmed in what's happening, and we forget all it takes sometimes is one person, one group saying, you can do something different. We can be different. We can change our world together. And it's that sort of like standing up against the tide of oppression, of restriction, of saying you can't be who you are. And groups like Unitarian Universalists who have been way ahead of the trend saying you can be who you are. We accept you as part of our group faith. I think that was really important.
And whatever the political climate at that time, like right now, I mean, I'll be honest, I'm worried, but I'm not going to let it run my life. I'm going to still be me. I'm going to still be out there. I'm going to still fight as much as I can. But I think for the art of drag, what we do and what we perform and how we, because we all turn into completely different people in drag, in phase, we become a very different persona. And for me, as Darren, I'm very shy. I'm very introverted. I don't like speaking. I have 3 MCs to do that. But when I become Sidonia, I'm a little bit more boisterous, a little bit more bold, a little bit more, statuesque, and I want people to notice.
We are in serious political times, but I feel our events are kind of the antidote to it. To say, they want to separate us, but let's come together. Let's have fun. Let's say gender is not what they say it is. I mean, we need our community now more than ever, and we need happiness and joy now more than ever.
I'm also wondering, how did you start? How did you decide this is what I'm going to do?
For myself, I was double dared to run for Miss Rochester in 1998, and that was my first time doing drag. I had a bunch of girlfriends helping put myself together, and I just happened to win. And that was the kickoff of my drag career, and it has rolled ever since then.
I know for me, I just kind of decided, it looked interesting. Maybe I'll try it once. And so I did it that one night, and when I was done performing, the audience just applauded, and it's just, you get this incredible feeling of such incredible love and affirmation. It's kind of like, wow, I can see why people get addicted to things in life because you feel that just really exciting happiness rush.
Yeah.
So I started in Provincetown, Massachusetts. There was 2 different types of drag at the time. There was like impersonation drag, where they would be Dolly Parton or Whitney Houston. And I think that was in many cases somewhat more acceptable to people. Like, oh, well, you're just like an impersonator of someone else. And then there was a group of people who were very much like alternative, like a form of rebellion. And they had like a cabaret show, and you could go and be part of that show and perform numbers. And that was that sort of sense of adventure. And even back then, in 1995, it was still frowned upon in Provincetown. And Provincetown was a very liberal sort of like art community, but there was still pushback against it. And the fact that we were able to do that, kind of be rebellious and be our own people, was really what got me intrigued with it. I was wanting to be more than just like a book on a shelf, a wallflower. I wanted to be more able to express who I was. And I found that doing it through drag was really a great way of expressing how I felt.
In college, I was dared by a classmate of mine who became a close friend. Oh, for Halloween, you should go and drag. You should be a female version of yourself. So I was like, you know what, I'm up for this. I recruited a couple of friends who assisted with transforming me, went out to a very well-known club in the Twin Cities, and within 15 minutes of walking in, the show director turned to me and said, you from here? And I said, yes. And they said, how long have you been doing this? I was like, this is my first time. And I was booked the next weekend.
I would love to hear any final thoughts you'd like to share about.
Thinking of how it all started right here in these walls and what it did for us, what it created for us, what it provided us. Come full circle to know roughly 25 plus years ago, all of us met, and we've been together since the beginning because of this place.
You know, the First Unitarian Universalist Church, the congregation, has been such incredible allies of our community, providing space for our dances from 1981, the beginning of drag. In 1993, when we passed the Human Rights Act at the state level, the congregation was very supportive and lobbied with us. When we run the Freedom to Marry for LGBTQ couples, Unitarian Universalist Church congregation was right there with us. So, incredible allies above and beyond any other church or organization in town. So thank you so much.